Ben Stiller defends Sinners against a critical headline about box office performance. Um, for those who are unaware with the article, Variety magazine, which is a huge movie entertainment stats magazine, particularly in the white world. They said something very disparaging about Sinners. Um, Everybody and their mama is celebrating the fact that Sinners was a box office success this weekend. And instead of just simply saying congratulations to Sinners for grossing um $61 million globally, um let me just read the article. Ben Stiller has fiercely defended Ryan Coogler's new vampire horror movie against a report that even with its 61 million global debut, profitability remains a way away. Sinners, an original genre-hopping supernatural thriller starring Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld, opened in theaters over Easter weekend with its impressive $61 million launch, as Warner Brothers releases surged past a Minecraft country lead in box office figures. Still, in a recent article published by Variety about the film's success, the outlet noted that while the box office takings in were a great result, profitability remains a way away, given that the film's eye-popping 90 million price tag before global marketing experiences. The Severance director quickly hit back in the publication and claims, in what universe does a $60 million opening for an original studio movie warrant this headline? And the headline was, Sinners has amassed a $61 million global debut. It's a great result for an original R-rated horror film, yet Warner Brothers release has a 90 million price tag before global marketing expenses. So profitability remains a ways away. And let me explain something to y'all, and let me explain something to you very clearly. This is what racism looks like. This is what haterade and racism looks like. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm not even mad with the writer of this article. I'm not mad with the writer of this article, and I will never be mad for a zebra being a zebra and a lion being a lion. This is what a hating ass, racist ass person does, right? Because here's the reality of the situation. If this was a Brad Pitt movie, that headline wouldn't have read that way. What happened was there was a face of nothing but black people in a genre that black people normally don't play in, and it had a super successful weekend opening, and it aggravated somebody's prejudice and racist spirit. And so they gave a nasty backhanded compliment. Yeah, you did 60 million, and they couldn't just end there. Oh, but it's still not profit. Like, even if you ain't hit profit yet, in what world do you backhand compliment somebody for doing 60 million in one weekend? If the movie Love was a $90 million production and it did 60 million in one weekend, two-thirds of the costs have already been recouped. It's not going to take much for us to do that other 30. It's by next weekend, the movie would have exceeded the other 30,000. Okay, so like, what are you talking about? If this was a Jennifer Aniston movie, if this was a Sarah Jessica Parker movie, if this was a Brad Pitt movie or a George Clooney movie or a Harrison Ford movie, the headline would have never read that way. It would have simply reported and celebrated the victory that a $60 million debut is. There are a lot of movies, more than not, that don't recoup their entire expense in the first weekend, and the articles never read this way. I'm pretty sure the accountants, the finance people, and the statisticians in the accounting and finance office at Warner Brothers, they are very pleased. Okay, because when they do their forecast and their trend, they already know this movie is going to clear what they spent, and it's going to be very profitable. They made back two-thirds of the expense over one weekend. What are you doing? But here's the funny thing. Here is the funny thing. I am not mad with the writer of this article. I'm not mad with it because if anybody who's worked in journalism, you understand that the writer is the ground soldier and that person's on the lowest level. And then there's the editor, where you either pitch a story to your editor or your editor either gives you a story that they want you to do. You write up the article, your editor sees it and approves it before it goes to publication. Here is the bigger issue. The fact that this article, the way it was written, went to publication, it suggests that there's an anti-Black, whether conscious or subconscious culture at Variety. In what world does an editor get this article and this is okay? The writer thought it was okay. The editor thought it was okay. And all the other people who sit around the table and go through the issue before it goes to publication thought that this was okay. You would have never did this to Jennifer Aniston. You would have never did it to George Clooney. You would have never did it to M. Night Shyamalan. You would have never did it to Steven Spielberg. And the fact that this went to publication and so many layers of editors and management saw no issue with it, you showing your slip. You showed your slip. Very funny story about Variety magazine, and which reinforces my belief that people who are not of the culture, doesn't matter what culture you are, country music, Indian, Black, white, Pakistani, people who are not of the culture should not be in charge of the project. When Sister Circle first debuted, the lady that was in charge, I'm not going to say her name, the lady that was in charge, she was so excited that the news broke that there was going to be this new talk show featuring 4 African-American women and a gay African-American DJ. She was so overjoyed and clicking her heels that the news broke in Variety. And me being a Black person, never reading Variety, never picking it up, never knowing anything about Variety, I just remember looking at her like, man, this shit gonna fail. I remember looking at her like, Sister Circle is gonna fail because this is an all-Black talk show dedicated to all Black people. And the white lady in charge, she really thinks she doing something. She thinks she knows it all. And we debuted in Variety magazine when none of our viewers are Variety readers. Like, if you wanted Sister Circle to be a success, I mean, it was for what it was, but if you wanted to reach its core demographic, the news should have broke in Essence magazine and not Variety. The news should have broke in Jet magazine. Hell, the news should have broke on the damn Shade Room. But the fact that you thought a TV One talk show with 4 Black women and a gay Black man, that the news should break in Variety. And that because they announced it in Variety, everybody's gonna run over and watch it. Like really? I ain't gonna send the show south, but I will say this. You can always tell when there is an absence of top-level diversity, because had there been somebody Black in a position of leadership at Variety, this would have never made it to press. That's all I got on it. Then you have, and this is how you know it's rooted in prejudice, racism, envy, and jealousy. Look at the difference between the Variety article and the way people who love you, people who are of the culture, people who have your back, people who want to see you win. Look at the way they write the article. Ebony writes, Sinners takes the #1 spot as the highest grossing opening original movie since 2019. Variety, that's the way the article was supposed to be written. So it's funny because one asks, how do you reconcile the Variety article and the Ebony article in one sentence. And you don't. The person who wrote that Variety article, they had a choice. They had 14 different angles and approaches they could have took to writing that article. And the one you chose was the one that undermined, reduced, downplayed the Black movie to your white audience. You have to ask yourself, whether consciously or subconsciously, why was that the angle that appealed to you most? You, your bosses, and your constituents, down to the job. This is the more interesting headline. This is the more intriguing headline. Like, oh, wow, there's a movie out there so good that it's taken the #1 spot since 2019. This is the more interesting headline. Oh, it did 60 million, but they had a 90 million budget. You know what that article was? It was the equivalent to when a girl walk in the room and she drop dead gorgeous and a hating asshole be like, I mean, she pretty, but she not all that. You know how you smell that hateration when a girl do that? That's what that article was.